May we all be seated, please. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, Dikko, the PhD, CON, the House Leader, as well as other honorable members of the State House of Assembly here present, the Chief of Staff to His Excellency, the Chief Executive Officer of the New Partnership for African Development, NEPAD, the State Chairman of the APC, Secretary to the Government of the State, Head of Civil Service, members of the State Executive Council, Honorable Commissioners and Special Advisors, permanent secretaries in the hierarchy of the civil service, both serving and retired, the leadership of Algon, other heads of agencies, parastatals and extra-ministerial departments, the Chairman Coalition of Academics for Katsina State Development, Honorable Guest Speaker, very senior academics, other academicians, invited guests, good evening and assalamu alaikum. We're pleased this evening to receive His Excellency the Executive Governor of Katsina State here precisely for a public lecture on Dikko Jobe policy document to mark the 2025 Democracy Day celebration, which of course is forthcoming June 12th. The theme for this very important lecture is planning as a financier for good governance, Dikko Radda's administration in focus 2 years. Your Excellency, quite few remarks will make the day. But the highlights or the climax of this, our engagement, will be the lecture presentation. We shall in due course expect discussants to do well within the topic to be presented, as well as presentations by various committee as arranged. Your Excellency, with your confirmation first, we will offer the opening prayer. It is my honor to invite the Special Advisor to His Excellency on Chieftaincy Affairs to give us the opening prayer. Namaliki. To I game on the
صلوا على النبي الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد آمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين الله يجعلنا
Amin Sharihi. Thank you very much. Having said the opening prayer, we'll be taking the next item. I think for want of time, we're skipping the introduction of the dignitaries here, having established the protocol. I want at this point in time invite the chairman of the Coalition of Academics for Katsina State Development, Malan Nur Abdullahi, to please proceed with the opening remarks. Chairman.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, Malam Dikko Umar PhD, members of the Executive Council, distinguished colleagues, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is with great honor and deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you all to this important gathering organized by the Coalition of Academics for Katsina State Development. The formation academic community in shaping the future of Katsina State. He took the bold step and bring together like-minded scholars under a single platform, resulting in the establishment of Coalition of Academics for Katsina State Development. Through his encouragement and support, and under the coordination of our esteemed colleague, Lawal Zubairu, the coalition has grown into a credible professional body that has made significant contribution to governance and policy direction in the state. Members of these coalitions were drawn from 14 tertiary institutions across Katsina State, including federal, state, and private institutions. This rich diversity provides us with a wide range of expertise and perspectives, strengthening the quality of our contributions. From the onset, our focus was thorough research and inclusive society. One key lesson we have learned from this experience is the critical role of planning in governance. Without a clear vision, measurable goals, and realistic strategies, even the best institutions often fail. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. In the case of Katsina State, we have seen how administration of Malam Dikko Umar, guided by the principle laid out in Building Your Future, has made substantial progress in key sectors such as security, education, healthcare, agriculture, among others. Planning has allowed the administration to align resources with priorities, to measure progress, and to adjust approaches where necessary. This structural approach to governance has enabled results that are not incidental, but deliberate. Governor Radda administration has demonstrated a comprehensive approach to governance, focusing on security, healthcare, education, agriculture, infrastructure, economic development, social welfare, public service reform, traditional institution, and religious affairs to improve the lives of Katsina State residents. Indeed, we are proud to report that almost 70% of the recommendations made by our various committees have been implemented in just 2 years. Rare feat in public administration. This is a testament not only to the governor's commitment, but also to the power of inclusive and strategic planning. Today we gather here to share our findings, reflect on achievements, and continue the dialogue on how academia can support governance through research, monitoring, and intellectual partnership. I am pleased to announce the representatives from different communities will share their findings and perspectives with you, sir. I encourage you all to listen attentively and ask questions. Let us all remember, when governance is built on planning, guided by data, and supported by knowledge, progress becomes inevitable. Thank you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless Katsina State and Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. most sincerely for the opening remarks. I think at this point in time at this point in time it is now time for the lecture proper. And talking about the personality of the guest speaker, from the few notes I have here with me, Professor Mohamed Kabri Isa is a distinguished academic in the fields of governance, development, and administration. A graduate of political science from Ahmadu Bello University, Abu Zaria. He earned his Bachelor of Science in 1989, MSc in 1994, and a PhD 2010. He has been a member of the academic staff in the Department of Local Government and Development Studies at ABU since 1992 and has served in various academic capacities across Nigeria, including as a visiting lecturer at Gombe State University 2006 to 2017, an adjunct lecturer at the National Open University of Nigeria, Abuja, and a visiting professor at the Newgate University, Minna. He was previously the Deputy Dean of the School of Postgraduate Studies from 2017 to 2021, now a postgraduate college. He recently served his sabbatical leave 2024 to 2025 at the Nigerian Defense Academy and currently serving as a Dean Faculty of Administration, ABU Zaria. With over 30 years of academic and research experience, Professor Isa has made a significant contribution to scholarship through numerous nationally and internationally published works. His research interests include social movement and transformation, ethnicity and ethnic conflict, youth studies, social change, development and underdevelopment, political Islam and militancy, countering violent extremism, and local governance. His scholarly works reflects both theoretical depth and policy relevance, positioning him as a thought leader in his field. He has contributed extensively to edited volumes and scholarly books, with notable publications such as Militant Ethnic Movements and Youth Subculture of Violence in Nigerian Cities, Early Nations, The State of Coma in Nigeria, Militant Islamic Movement in Northern Nigeria, and Identity, Politics, and Transformation in Contemporary Nigeria. His work has been featured in publications by the Institute of Security Studies in Pretoria and Addis Ababa. Professor Isa is an active participant in international academics and policy networks. He is a member of the UNESCO MUST EthnoNet Africa Network, the International Research Society for Public Management, and a Result Network, USIP, New York. Additionally, he holds a membership in the Nigerian Political Science Association, NPSA, and the Association of African Political Science, West African Zone, AAPSWA, where he is a pioneer member. Then, having made synopsis from the profile of the learned guru, it is my honor at this point in time to invite the distinguished scholar to please come to the podium for the lecture presentation. We will appreciate Professor as he come on board for the lecture. Professor.
Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, sir, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, Dr. Dikko members of the Executive Council, advisors to His Excellency the Governor of Katsina State, members of Algon, Chairman of Local Government. It might suffice Your Excellency to note that very interesting among your trail are my students. The guy who led the prayer today is my student, or was my student. And Alhaji Lawal Safana was, in fact, is an affiliate from a student. He became an affiliate of the Department of Local Government and Development Studies. He embodies the department and many. Alhaji Rabu Tambaya is one of my best products. If I'm proud of somebody, I'm proud of Alhaji Rabu Tambaya. It's my product, and I'm very proud. So I'm very happy to be in Katsina State and in the midst of Katsina. Very important, I would like to extol the coalition of academics for Katsina State Development for deeming me fit to come and deliver this lecture and to provide insight. I have done this in Katsina, Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic, the inaugural lecture. I delivered a paper on the icon, the general, and the prince of Katsina, the late General Hassan Usman Katsina of blessed memory. So it gives me great pleasure to be back to Katsina again to do what we are good at and what we know how to do best. It will suffice to note that also while I was traveling down to Katsina, I did not just read the submission of the coalition, and I did not read just the assessment. I stopped by at points to feel the pains in the classrooms and the clinics to be sure that they are not just mentioned on paper, that I'm tasting the paint and smelling the paint and seeing the projects on the wall. And so this is what we call evidence-based. So, sir, again, I came up with something unique, novel. Please, can you take the slide back to the beginning? I want His Excellency to see the beginning, the first page, and to see what I'm bringing to bear and what I'm serving to the table. I'm coming with a different view. V2R, from vision to reality. And so we're looking at policy planning as a panacea for good governance. Governor Dikko's 2-year transformative agenda and achievement in Katsina State from 2023 to 2025. So what we're seeing is a transformation, not just even a transition, a movement, a shift. If you like, a disruptive shift, something that disrupts what exists before. You are not just transforming, you are reshaping, you are disrupting what exists. And that is why I tag mine from vision, from an idea to reality, V2R. And so that's the beginning of my slide, to show you that I contextualize the documents that were presented to me. And I did not just read the document, I went through my route to this place to fill the post. Next page, please. Now, Katsina State from before 2023 was an environment of insecurity, from banditry and rural insurgency to disrupted socio-economic life. It will suffice to inform His Excellency that in the whole world, as an academic, as a researcher, I was the first person to publish Boko Haram. And I presented a paper about Boko Haram in South Africa at the Institute of Security Studies, April 2009. And I was commissioned to replicate the same thing for LFIG, Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, in July at Addis Ababa at the African Union in 2009. And my publication, what Shatta will call Bakandemia, were the hallmark of my academic career. These two publications from South Africa on militant Islamic movement in northern Nigeria and militant Islamic movement in Libya. This became what you will call in Hausa Bakandemia of my hallmark as an academic. And this is what propelled me globally to international scene, and I became consultant to American Embassy, Canadian Embassy, Australian Embassy, the United States Embassy for a period of about 7 years, offering services to these countries because our leaders listen to these people more than they listen to us. And this is where I want to thank you very much, Your Excellency, sir, that when you had this vision, you brought about local indigenous technology, local academics who sat with you, developed a document, and gave you an idea. And this is what we are celebrating today. And that's the basis of my point, that in Nigeria, Nigerian elites don't listen to academics. They listen to foreigners. For the first time, that's why I said, your vision is disruptive, not just transformative. You're working with indigenous knowledge. Because when you come with World Bank, you come with DFID, IMF, they don't have local knowledge. But the academics on the ground are the ones who have local what? Knowledge. So success of any agenda, of any policy is contingent on local what? Knowledge. Understanding what is the local condition. So basically, before 2023, what we had were high youth unemployment, deepening poverty, weak institutional performance, and low public trust, and the need for shift from reactive to proactive governance. And I said, not just proactive, but also disruptive governance, because you're coming with local indigenous understanding. And you're coming with a blueprint, homegrown from Katsina, with better insight, better understanding, genetic, organic understanding of what is Katsina problem. And so that gave you the planning and the good governance. So what's the missing link? Planning is not just an administrative document or administrative issue. It is strategic. And why is this strategic? It gives good governance the basis to plan. And it gives you transparency, efficiency for results. And how do you come about that? Lack of planning leads to fragmented, short-term interventions, while effective planning provides vision, structure, coordination, and sustainability. And what I bring to the table today is the issue of sustainability. Everything I've read in the document and seen have achieved in the last 2 years the vision. Remember, I talked about vision at the beginning. And the vision has transposed and transmutated into reality. And you have structures on the ground, which I will refer to in the context of the discussion. And there's coordination. And what is hanging in the process and what needs to be rejigged is the issue of sustainability. And next, please. And that takes us to, why is this planning important? Why does it matter? Now, when you have governance through the prism, through the lens of planning, why is it important? Why does it matter? It moves beyond media hype. You know, if you go to the media, you see, we do content analysis in the media. And you see a lot of reports in the media. The governor did this. There are states you go, you read about a lot of projects in the media, but when you go on the ground, they are not there. Or they are there whitewashed or dysfunctional. And that's why you'll understand with me. I said, I went in Jikamshi, I stopped in Jikamshi, felt the paint of the primary school, smelt it, and know how many weeks it has been there for a while. So beyond hype, what I've seen are reality. And that's why the context of my presentation is that we have, in Katsina State, we have moved from vision to reality. And so it answers how and why development occurs, development outcomes occur at the time they occur. Highlights planning inputs, policy logic, and institutional mechanisms. Now, it offers deep insight into leadership capacity and policy effectiveness. So, in Katsina State, from this document, we are beginning to see a very high-grade leadership capacity. In fact, I was asking, I noticed that there are a lot of professors, a lot of doctors in the cabinet of His Excellency. So I was asking, what is the quantum volume of the number of academics in the cabinet? And I'm still waiting to get the result on that. But that gives me an idea that any government that will succeed when it gets the requisite number of people and the right caliber of people to work at the right place, putting round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. Governor Radda's policy paradigm is that building your future. That's the acronym, that's the language, that's the mantra, building your future. Now, it came in a strategic policy document, which is comprehensive, and it's a blueprint which was introduced in 2023, developed with the input from 200 plus policy experts, and it is anchored on a framework. You know, in research, where there is a research and there's no theory, there's no research. And so the research is the lens, like the camera, through which you guide your project. You guide what you want to achieve. So what is building your future going to achieve? It is going to work on a framework of blocks. Building blocks for development, I call them. What are they? Budget. You learn, you organize, you involve the community, you evolve knowledge, and then you develop security. And this even are the highlights of the context of development. Without this, there are no, you cannot claim to have development. Next slide, please. Now, the next is what the policy aims to achieve. Vision and strategic focus of BYF, Building Your Future document. 1, reform public sector administration for service delivery. This is cogent and very relevant and germane to any development. Because since independence, we have practiced the development model and it has not delivered. So in the light of where we are today, what must begin at development language and agenda is to reform the public sector. Now there are different models of reforming the public sector, but I'll not take us into that debate. But what is important for this model is that you expand education, healthcare, and social welfare. This is very apt for me. It answers a lot of my development questions. And then you grow MSMEs, and then agricultural value chain. Then you institutionalize local governance and citizen participation. In fact, these are twin engine of grassroots development. Local governance and then citizens participation. Then you enhance security through community-driven initiatives. Now, we are going to speak to some or all of these and the structures put in place to achieve this. Because it is not just one thing to mention. It's another thing to say we have done this, but there are structures. Without the structures, the issue of sustainability will not be there. They will not last. They will fizzle out with the administration. But where there are structures and organization, then they persevere and they stand the test of time. So why this study? Well, this paper is to assess Governor Radda's achievement through a structured planning-based lens, and then showcase how strategic planning catalyzed measurable governance outcomes, and then offer lessons for subnational governance reform in Nigeria, and then contribute to scholarship on development, leadership, and state building. Quickly, please. Then, what's my theoretical framework? Like I said, anything we do in the academics, there must be a theory for it. Now, what is strategic planning? It's a deliberate, long-term policy process which align, again, vision comes in here, which align vision with what? Action. And from action, you get what? Reality. And then establishes priorities, allocates resources from the blocks, budget, and then tracks performance. Now, in governance, it transforms leadership's intent into measurable change, and then foundation for anticipatory and systemic public management. So we need to understand also what is governance and good governance. Governance is how power is exercised and decisions are made. Good governance marked by transparency, accountability, inclusiveness, and then rule of law. Then build institutions and foster citizens' trust, enables development outcomes to be citizens-focused and efficient. And all of these are captured in the BYF. Next slide, please. Now, what is public policy implementation? Again, we are looking at the process of translating ideas into actionable program. Again, which speaks to my V2R, vision to reality. So it requires coordination among actors, institutions, and legal tools. And then you have successful implementation, which depends on capacity, compliance, and adaptability. And then central to evaluating political leadership and planning outcomes. That is the policy implementation framework. Now, the blocks framework, which is a basis of Governor Radda's blocks framework, is that a planning logic integrates 6 governance critical pillars. 1, budget. And what about budget? Right size funding to avoid inefficiency or underperformance. Law, that is learning. Legal frameworks for legitimacy and execution. Organization, institutions must be empowered or created to serve the purpose. And then community, local context, alignment, and ownership by the community. Knowledge, capacity building, and awareness for implementers and citizens. This is very important because in monitoring evaluation, we have moved beyond monitoring and evaluation. We are now at the stage of monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Then security. Policy successes relies on a safe and stable environment. Next. Then, linking planning to governance outcomes. Blocks ensure coherence between the vision, again, vision is coming up, policy and delivery. It encourages adaptive governance rooted in Katsina's reality, bridges the gap between the strategic intent and tangible impact, and acts as a diagnostic and planning tool for all sectors. Then what are the indicators for governance? 2 years. So after these 2 years, what next? How do we sustain what we have gained and then build upon it? 2 things. Then citizens' participation, institutionalized engagement in decision making. And citizens' participation in recent times are achieved through town hall meetings at various stages. Now, then you have, then you have transparency and accountability. These have been, next slide. These have been engaged. Next slide, please. Next. Quickly, please, yes. Great. Now, again, I'll not bore you with this. I did a lot of content analysis. I read policy documents. I did a lot of content analysis. I went online, searched Katsina State, and to confirm what's in the text obtainable online. I checked social media handles and so on. So I relied mostly on mixed method to arrive at this next data, next stage. Great. Now, here, what is the BYF policy strategy all about? First, there's the issue of its origin, initiated by Governor Dikko during pre-election planning, crafted with contribution from 200 plus experts across policy domains, and designed to confront Katsina's structural challenges, insecurity, poverty, and underdevelopment. Now, what is the vision? Build a future ready, people-focused, and resilience governance model. I'm in love with this. This is just wonderful. Very apt, very cogent, very precise, and doable. And what? Doable, achievable. It is not gargantual. It is not a hype. It is something that can be short, sharp, measurable, and doable. So why build the future? Why building your future? A future-oriented governance model does certain things. It seeks to balance short-term relief with long-term development. So in the first 2 years of Governor Dikko administration, the first 2 years, we want to give relief and set the foundation for a long-term what? Development. And that's what it is. So we will measure, has the action of government in the 2 years brought relief? Because this is what we seek to do. And then moves governance from reaction to what? Anticipation. Meaning that the citizens of Katsina State, measuring what has obtained, are looking beyond 2 years, and they are looking above next, decades to come. So focuses on institutional reform, inclusive growth, and now you've gone too far. Okay. Now, okay. Focus on institutional reform, inclusive growth, and systemic impact. Now, planning as a governance tool is not a political afterthought, and it cannot be. And that is why I coined mine, and I added to the coinage and the acronym, we are moving Katsina State from vision to what? Reality. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the core development themes and the strategic pillars of building your future policy? We have public sector reform, the Katsina State BPA, Bureau for Public Reform. Then you have the KSAPG, you have the APAG, then you have education and skills, universal access for education, and then digital learning, and then technical and vocational education training. Then you have healthcare transformation, which provides rural access. And Your Excellency, I saw those rural hospitals around the 65 wards. I saw along my route coming, I stopped to be sure that they were not just on paper, they were real. Then the MSME development, finance clusters, digital skills, I saw those on social media. Then agricultural modernization, I saw them too on social media. And then social protection, Rumbun Sauki, community care and housing, very apt for development. Security architecture, the community watch, I watched when my very good friend Alaji Dr. Lawal joined you here in Katsina to help you launch this. So this is not just media hype. Katsina State provided that, and by the time we are successful in getting state security police passed through, you already have a built standing army for state security. So the state will spend less in training because you have already invested in able hands who will readily migrate into the state police architecture. So you have urban infrastructure and energy. In fact, as soon as I approached Katsina, I got lost because I saw a flyover, which was not there 2.5 years ago when I was there, and with beautiful colors. Then the blocks framework, like we said, we've looked at that. Next page, which provides this framework for achieving all of this. Now, the implementation structure. How is BYF delivered? We have sectoral blueprints with performance targets. And this is where I intervene at the end of my discussion. Each of these sectoral blueprints, bring back those 200 plus experts. Let them form clusters and help you analyze as the progress continue. Because they develop the blueprint. For sustainability, the way they will look at these sectors is different from the way bureaucrats will look at it. And I'll advise, on an yearly basis, let's have in any of this university, like UMU or the Polytechnic, a conference, annual conference of Katsina State indigenous and outsiders discussing these blueprints. Funded conferences. Then you will get research and policy-based outcome reports that will guide government's policy direction. So there are institutional reforms, community development centers in 361 wards, yes. The KPIs, the key performance indicators, and the digital monitoring system for TSA, for health, for USMS, very good. Local government alignment and execution rules. So, and again, I love the idea that the BYF is also aligning itself with the SDG. And I'm looking towards that by the end of September, by September, Katsina State should model something at the next SDG conference in New York, 2025. I am looking towards Katsina State because in 2017, Benue State was invited to showcase what they are doing at SDG in New York. So we should have Katsina State showcasing. We should not keep it. We should celebrate it. Show what we are doing at the level of what? Aligning government policy with the what? SDGs. And so we should be in New York and tell the world, not just government in Nigeria. Next slide, please. Now, the strategic policy team, like I said, this is wonderful. You cannot have this strategy of BYF and blocks without a team. Now, what I also expect is that in each of the ministries, what are they adopting? What is their own framework out of this? Each of the ministries, what is their blueprint? So they're not getting a blueprint. In the ministry, what is their team? Which team do they have? And how are they aligning their team with the academics? What is the relationship between the ministries and the academics? What are their relationship? So the team, the strategic policy team, chaired by His Excellency, the governor, now it ensures policy coherence across MDAs and LGAs. Again, the local government, what's their own blueprint? What is the blueprint of the local government along BYF and the blocks? Now, it tracks budget alignment with policy target, which is good. So apparently, it seems that this is more focused, more towards target. But I'm not faulting this, because for me, you have already indicated that this is to bring relief, and relief towards development. Thank you, sir. And which is targeting relief, and relief leading to a stage for development. So for me, the first 2 years is a relief, succor, and we are getting it. And I'm going to show it. So basically, we should go beyond that in the next 2 years. We should not set proper agenda for development beyond relief, because we have gotten the relief. So for the BYF, we should shift from fragmented governance to coordinated what? Development. And that's my submission on this aspect. We should move from fragmented governance to a coordinated development. Embed planning into everyday governance practice and in all ministries and agencies and the departments and local governments. And it serves as a local model aligned with global standard, like the SDG, powered by institutional innovation and executive commitment. Next slide, quickly. Now, these are the achievements. But there are too many. If I am to showcase this achievement in these sectors, I'll take the next 1 hour doing so. So I cut them off. Yeah. This is just to acknowledge that I've seen this achievement and I took note of them. Hold on here. But it's incisive to give a summary of these achievements. In agriculture was transformed. There are strategic deployment of 400 plus tractors, 4,000 solar pumps, and 400 kg bags of subsidized fertilizer annually. Planned shift to year-round irrigation. Infrastructure and urban renewal. 150 billion naira roads. 160 kilometer mostly dual carriageway. I've seen that. Eastern bypass completed. Mariam Park revitalized. Economic empowerment. Kaseda established and secured 5 billion Bank of Industry matching fund. 123 million for youth skill and goat rearing initiative. Water and renewable energy, 50 billion naira water budget in 2025, leading to NG Suwash, 500 million clean energy partnership, and then 66 megawatt solar in waterworks, and then 85 kilometer solar street lights. Governance reform, swift treasury single account implementation, new anti-corruption and fiscal responsibility commission, which is good. In fact, when you work with DFID, this is some of the hallmarks they want to see in any governance architecture in a state. Then, of course, their commitment to local government autonomy, Busa to Katsina State, because I'm a local government person. Then, planning a catalyst for good governance. You talked about transparency, accountability, clear plans. BYF itself, the strategic document, is an exemplary case of planning for good governance. And then efficient resource optimization to reduce waste, citizen-centric development, policies directly address community needs, those ward projects, and then those community center, community-based watch, and so on and so forth. All of these are citizen-centric development. And I interviewed a couple of people, and I was told that fertilizer is shared by the citizens, not by the state. And the citizens determine who benefits from. And this is a classical example of citizen-based. And then policy recommendation. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. And so this is to acknowledge that we have seen this project. Next slide, please. We cannot waste. They are there. They are just there. And so I said, hold on, please. Last page. And I said, this is an example. Just last page. Yeah, of the previous page. No, the previous. Yes. This, I said, hold on, please. Just there. And I said, this is vision. All of these are vision, from vision to what? Reality. And this is a testament of the fact that the Katsina State government has brought what? Succor, relief. And so from here, we have set the standard for development. And so the next 2 years should be an agenda to achieve what? Development for Katsina State. Next slide. Yeah. So basically, and very quickly, Now, what are the critical things? We said planning enables seamless execution. And so the BYF policy integrated diagnostic, budget pass, timelines, and delivery. Sir, we are humans. There are lenses through which I see things which the civil servants see differently. As academics, we think differently from civil servants. Even though we behave alike, we are governed by the same rules. So these diagnostic tools should work both from the academics and from the what? Civil service. They are experts, they are professional, they are found nowhere else. And they are good at their job when they want to do the job very well. And with the right appropriate environment and conditions, civil servants work at optimal. And I respect that. So we should have a balanced view of our document. This is one. What I've done now is a different view of the document. Provide a different understanding. And I believe that the capacity is embedded inside Katsina State. And there's no doubt about that. So, from pre-election vision to post-election what? Action. V2R. So, what is it? The Dikko Jobe campaign blueprint evolved into the BYF policy. Eliminated post-election transition gaps, which is the relief we're talking about, and a policy drift, and then enabled rapid implementation in the first 100 days, and then demonstrated the power of programming campaign. In fact, Your Excellency, I want to ask, because when you were distributing fertilizer and relief, I asked, is there any other governor like you? Because I saw you fighting with police. No, this Fatalakawani, one Natalakawani, you were collecting and ensuring that the beneficiaries and those who are deemed to benefit get the requisite relief. And I said the lesson from there is that what structure are we going to put in place? But I did say kai irin wannan wahalan ba kuma. Ba sai kai wannan dake jaye karaba mutane kaya ba. How do we get people to honor and distribute this relief? And I'll tell you that it was an exemplary video, and that video topped the internet for a long period of what? Time at the beginning of the era of your administration. That here is a governor who stands for the testament of his voice and for what he believes in. And so we appreciate you for that. Now, next slide, please. Quickly, yeah. So I did an assessment. What are the barriers to sustainability and replication? One, political will, it exists. Resource constraint also exists. From economics, resources are always what? Scarce. In fact, one of the hallmarks of economics is resources are always what? Scarce. So, but we must balance it. Then, institutional continuity. This is what I would challenge civil servants to ensure that this policy does not end with Dr. Dikko Umar Radda, that the policy live many, many years after his administration. Then, lessons for subnational government. What other states can learn? Institutionalized planning is core to governance function. And then, in planning, one of the things that kill planning is that we plan without a base. We plan without what? A base. And so what the Dikko Radda administration did is to come up with a pre-election implementation, a ready blueprint that recognizes that we are starting from ground zero. So what is the situation before we start? And it is good for weighing success, for measuring whether you are succeeding or failing. And then empower strategic policy teams to coordinate beyond routine civil service. And this is my argument. Civil service have a tendency, it's genetic in their DNA to do routine. Everything must be routinized. everything in the civil service must be what? Routinized. And this is where we differ from the civil servant. Everything must go through process. And so it does not allow for disruptive approach. And here we are. We want to disrupt. We want to leapfrog. We want to get Katsina State to 20 years from now. We want to bring 20 years in front to now. So we want to bring the future. We are building your future now. And civil service will tell you go slow. But academics, like myself, are disruptive. What are the shortcuts that we can? And so we need to balance these two. And to balance, you must bring back those 200 plus academics on a cluster basis to continually engage with the what? Civil service on a sector base so that they disrupt the process and push the civil servants to do that. Because without the civil service, we cannot achieve development. Without development planning is very important. Now, final thought. Planning as a compass for purposeful government. In a political economy marked by fragmentation and uncertainty, planning remains the most reliable compass for a purposeful leadership, institutional resilience, and sustainable development. Next, final slide, the final one. Final. Next slide, please, not this. Keep going. This, I've spoken to this. Yep. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, there's something at the end. Just go to the last page. Last page, please. Okay, come back here. Aha, this is the page. Exactly, yeah. So, Your Excellency, sir, talking about sustainability. Sustainability of planning cycle is very important. So for this document, the BYF, which is guided by blocks, we should start thinking at the early stage, how do we make this document sustainable? This question has not been generated and has not been asked sufficiently. How do we make this document sustainable? How do we make what we have built on the ground sustainable? And I propose these 200 plus experts to form clusters of key mandates, the sectors, to regularly monitor, assess, review, and advise government by engaging the civil service, to regularly review processes, monitoring, evaluation, and learning reports, and by annual meeting of consolidation, reviews, realignment, and validation, and make recommendation to government for reform and review. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Excellency, for
Thank you. Let's appreciate him once more. It's very difficult to tell senior academics that your time is up. Bear in mind that I'm just a doctoral student, so I probably sincerely thank you for thank you very much. I think for want of time, bear in mind that we will be having various submissions by committees. Then I think we will ask them to make synopsis, be as brief as possible. I think as regards to discussions of this very important paper, I want to draw the attention of the discussant that we hope that he will be as brief as possible as well. And then I want to give a brief synopsis as regards to the discussant, Associate Professor Jibril Husseini. He is the head of Department of History and War Studies, Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, the top military university in West Africa. He hails from Basari local government area of Katsina State. He obtained his bachelor degree in history from Bayer University, Kano, master's in military history and defense studies, NDA, and a PhD in the same area from Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He taught at the Department of History and Security Studies, OMUG, for 10 years, after which he transferred his service to NDA. He attended many conferences within and outside Nigeria. He also edited and authored books on conflict studies. He is currently a visiting scholar at some military institutions in Nigeria, including the famous National Defense College, Abuja. So on this note, join me to invite Associate Professor Jibril Husseini. He is the discussant to this paper, and I hope Prof will be as brief as possible, looking at other items on the agenda that are still waiting to be exhausted.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Ibrahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa sallallahu ala nabiyul kareem. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, Malam Umar Dikko Umaru Rada, PhD. Sir, permit me to stand on the already established protocol. The paper that we just finished listening by an erudite scholar, a very senior colleague of mine, Professor Muhammad Kabir Isa, is a document of 75 pages. Your Excellency, I was hijacked by coordinators of this important gathering this evening that I have to be a discussant of this paper. When you look at these schedules, you realize that it is my teacher and a very senior colleague, Professor Sadiq Rada, and he also directed that I must do it. And of course, it's part of the challenges in the academia. Whatever responsibility you are saddled with, you have to take it. It's part of the training. So this paper is categorized into subsections, beginning from the introduction. From the introduction, he treats the geographical outlay of Katsina as a historic area in the Sahel region. He mentions the contemporary developmental challenges that bedevil Katsina State, especially on the eve of the election of Governor Umaru Rada as the governor of Katsina State. He briefly talked about the governor's readiness to confront these multiple challenges through marrying theory and practice of development planning, which manifested in his establishment of committees of experts on different areas that gave birth to his strategic document known as Building Your Future, which is implemented around strategic areas of budget, laws, organizations, community, knowledge, and security, which is briefly termed as blocks. The paper provides conceptual definitions such as what it means by strategic planning, public policy implementation, as well as 6 critical dimensions of planning model for every governance throughout the world. He went further to provide an overview of building the document of Building Your Future as a strategic policy. It is origin and vision strategy, which he provided in the paper that it came about before the inauguration of Malam Umaru Dikko Rada in May 2023. This document, according to him, is a byproduct of a brainwork of about 200 subject experts on different areas, largely from a coalition of Katsina State academic under the able leadership of Malam Nura Abdullahi. He dissected areas of implementation of these ideas put in place by these scholars and experts through multisectoral collaboration, decentralization execution, sectoral blueprints, digitalization, among other important approaches for modern governance. The paper points out under the sectoral achievements issues of security and peace building, establishment of security co-watch, purchase of equipment, and so on and so forth. Under the conclusion of this achievement, he concluded by saying that it is not merely a political will, but rather what Professor Muhammad Isa coined as intentional strategic planning. In our classes, we always celebrate that part of the problems of development in Nigeria and Africa at large is lack of political will. In the case of Katsina State, we said that we have a leader that has political will, but according to Professor Mohammed, it is beyond that. He coined it as intentional strategic planning of Malam Dikko Umaru Rada. On education, he further talked about the construction of about 75 secondary schools and 15 mega schools, agile initiative and girl child education, construction of over primary healthcare centers, and healthcare workforce and human capital development. On agriculture, which is a pillar of every economy, he pointed out a lot of developments that are achieved within these 2 years. He also mentioned about the issues of infrastructure and urban planning, water resources and renewable energy, cultural and traditional revivalism, and so on and so forth. He also discussed about critical challenges of these important policy documents that Governor Umar Roda is pursuing, such as issue of continuity, diversified funding mobilization, human resistance to modern challenges, and resurfacing of insecurity in some areas, among others. He provided some recommendations where he pointed out issues like institutionalizing strategic planning, legalize reform blueprint, invest in civil service and digital governance, promote participatory governance, align with SDG and global benchmarks, and so on and so forth. By way of conclusion of his paper, he pointed out that strategic planning of beyond your picture document in Katsina State, as put in place in the past 2 years, if sustained, would become a transformational leadership which other states of the Federation can borrow from our dear state. Now, from my own input of the paper, I say that it is no doubt that the paper has objectively x-rayed the transformational and strategic leadership of Dr. Dikko Umaru Rada in governing Katsina State. However, the paper is bit silent on the area of corruption, where the governor was able to establish Katsina State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission. This institution is indeed serving the purpose of its creation. Even though preliminary investigation into their activities reveals that it experiences some challenges that retard wide coverage of operations. These challenges include understaffing, lack of enough operational vehicles, funding, among others. It is by strengthening this commission that much more successes would be realized in your government, Your Excellency, sir. Long life Katsina State, long life Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Ribon Jibril Useni for your inputs as a discussant. I think swiftly we will be taking this time around presentations from various committees. I'm directed to draw the attention of the presenters that they should make their presentation within the span of 5 minutes. Initially, the time allotted was 10 minutes, but I think we have a lot of committees' presentations, perhaps about 9, so to speak. And I'm starting with the Security Committee. And to make this presentation will be no other person than Professor Sadiq Sarada from Department of Sociology, Byron University, Kano. So let's appreciate Prof as he come on stage for his submission on the Security Committee. We say 5 minutes, but don't be surprised. Prof may round up even within 3 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. So.
5 minutes. Yes. I can do with less. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Your Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, members of the High Table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be given this opportunity to speak about the contributions of the committee towards ensuring that Katsina State becomes secure. When the government was sworn in, the governor established a committee headed by Professor Siddiq. We met severally, we brainstormed, we came up with a number of recommendations, and we gave the government. For the purposes of information and for the avoidance of doubt, many issues to do with security cannot be discussed so openly. Moreover, we are online, we are live. But despite that, I must say that regarding the insecurity in Katsina State, even though we are not where we want to be, we can all confirm that we are not where we were. In other words, we have made progress steadily, slowly but surely. Your Excellency, you made a promise to make sure that the people and their property become secure. And every discerning individual in Katsina State will affirm, will confirm, will believe, knows that a lot has been done in the area of fighting insecurity. The fact that you have issues, you have cases here and there, does not mean that there is no improvement in the security performance. Rather, you can say that things are being done to make sure that people are secure. Mr. Chairman, again, we should know in the fight against security, the bad guy needs to get it once right, just once. But the government has to get it right all the time. You have to cover your ground nearly all the time, and it's not possible. Despite that, I must say that it's promise made, promise kept. How? In summary, I want to give, without giving details, certain things that were recommended to the government, certain things that were ambitioned by the governor himself and his team. They came together to produce what we have today. Before the coming of the government, 26 local governments were under siege. But that's not the case now. We are all aware of the frontline states, frontline local governments where banditry was intensive. But that has been alleviated. Again, there are many local governments that were close to the frontline local governments. They were very vulnerable. It has been eased, but not without problems. Again, prior to the coming of the government, there was discordance regarding the security agencies in the state. Now, there is cooperation, collaboration, and coordinations among them, which makes it easy for them to utilize their resources and to deliver. Again, there is a surveillance center in the state. We don't need to know the location, but there is a surveillance center where many parts of the states can be monitored and action taken. We are all aware that many vigilante groups have been formed in our communities and they are performing. Then there are many community-driven efforts. In these communities, they have been given arms approved by the government, and they are taking up the challenge of protecting their communities before the arrival of security agencies. Again, if we could remember, there was this Northwest Peace and Security Summit. Many of us participated. We came up with many ideas, and we came to the conclusion that within the Northwest, no state alone can function and fight insecurity without the collaboration and cooperation of all the states. Therefore, there is now a fairly networked relationship between the states in the Northwest. Even before the government came, there was this three-tier security architecture. Apart from using air power, many things were done to incentivize financially the security architecture. Imams are being paid, villages are being paid, vigilantes that have been recruited after training, they are being given weapons, they are being given incentives. This is monumental. Again, we all know many logistic equipment have been supplied to all the security agencies in the state. Frankly speaking, there are many things that have been done by the government with the coming of Dikko Marada. Some of them cannot be tabled here for security reasons, but what an outcome of all these efforts by the government. At least people have some level of confidence that we can trust the government. The efforts being made by those who are concerned with protecting the lives and property of the people is being seen by an ordinary citizen. Only 3 days ago or 2, we saw the governor in the bush with the security agencies. That is building the confidence of the common man that the government and the governor cares. Then we are beginning to trust the security agencies. Hitherto, there were complaints about nearly all the security agencies. There was a time when some people were saying that we would rather have vigilantes than to have some security agencies. But that's not the case today. There is the belief that the security agencies are making all their efforts. They are doing their best. They are losing their sleeps. They are losing their lives, their health. They stay on the streets to protect us. This is because they have a government that gives them all the support. Now, the frontline local governments, I recall when we came, Basari was a hotbed of banditry, but there are significant improvements. In fact, at a certain point in time, even local governments like Bindawa, Charanchi, Kankia, and a host of other communities were vulnerable, but improvements are being seen. But like I told you, the fact that you have 1 or 2 incidents does not mean that efforts are not being made to curb insecurity. Rather, the bad guys will make efforts to show that they are present. Now, in addition to that, many efforts are being made to empower the young people in the state so that their attention is taken away from criminality. UNDP is helping the government in that direction. There are many other non-kinetic approaches. Today I heard on the radio how people who have been kidnapped, those who have lost their lives, those who are asked to pay ransom, those who have lost their businesses, there is a network of relationship between the government and anybody who is a victim in whatever manner. Even children on their mother's back are being supported by the government, which is very good. Security officials who lose their lives, of course, their commands will do something for them. If they are military, paramilitary, DSS, the government, federal government will do a lot for them, but the state government is doing a lot monetarily to help them and their families. Your Excellency, a lot has been done, but we are not saying that we have reached the promised land. Rather, more work has to be done. And in this regard, I want to suggest three major things. Number one, we are aware that the federal government is going to establish forest guards. We must make sure that as a country, our forests are not safe havens. Everything that needs to be done to clear our forests and make them standard forests for economic activities must be done. Therefore, the state government must make efforts to ensure that our people join the forest guards. Number two, Nigeria is rich in air power. So before you send the forest guards, there must be proper utilization of air power to make sure that all the forests are cleared. Then I also suggest there must be massive community participation in the activities of the security agencies. There must be a network of relationship between them and the communities, and our people must be oriented to know that protecting everybody in the country requires everybody. Without people participating, it's going to be impossible or extremely difficult to protect everyone. Then I also want to raise the concern of some people that some security agencies, some vigilantes are involved in extortion, abuses, and these are things that must be checked. They must be scrutinized, then proper actions taken. But I must say that a lot of water has passed under the bridge. By the time we take steps and we continue to do what is needed, then our people will be secure, and it's a task that must be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Radha. That has been submission for the Security Committee. Now, moving on, the next one is from the Education Committee, and to make this presentation, no other person than Associate Professor Babangida Ladan. He is the Sub-Dean Faculty of Education by University Kano and the National President, Nigerian National Council for Adult Education. So Professor Radha has set standard as per timing, so
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, members of the State Executive Council, other distinguished personalities, please stand on the already established protocol. I am standing here to represent my chairman, the chairman of the Education Sector Reform Committee, Professor Ismail Azangu, who was unavoidably absent and for whom I'm standing. Formation of subcommittees and a lot of other approaches. And based on the submissions that we got through all these processes, we gathered enormous recommendations. And because the recommendations are enormous, we group them into four. There are recommendations for basic and secondary education, recommendations on tertiary education, recommendations on adult and non-formal education, there are recommendations on voluntary and private engagement in education. When we are working in the committee, people thought that the recommendations are so enormous and maybe they cannot be implemented. But I told them that I knew Dikko for some I was given is to address the achievements of Malam Dikko Umaru
So I will mention some of the achievements that the government has achieved that are emanating from our own recommendations. Number one, there's a recruitment of 721 teachers through an open and transparent process. There was also the rehabilitation of many 7,000, sorry. 7,000, I'm sorry, Your Excellency, sir. Uh, the second one is the rehabilitation of many existing primary and secondary schools in the state. There is also the establishment of 3 model schools for the gifted, one in each senatorial zone of the state. Another achievement is the introduction of vocational entrepreneurship and IT skills to pupils at the upper basic level of education. There's also the restructuring of the former Ministry of Education into Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and the Ministry of Higher and Vocational Education. There is also improved teacher training and capacity building. Before the coming of this government, teachers were left without training. But Alhamdulillah, we have someone that have passion for education. Our teachers are trained regularly. Another achievement is that we have full implementation of the basic education policy. You know, the UBE Act is operating on a 9-year basic education, where the junior secondary school is a segment of its own. We have not seen this into reality until the coming of Malam Dikko. We now have separate structures for separate physical and administrative sectors for the junior secondary and for the senior secondary, and that is a provision of the Universal Basic Education Policy. Another achievement is the transferring of the BATC to the Ministry of Higher and Vocational Education. Before the coming of Malam Dikko, the BATCs were redundant and that they are not very functional, but now they have been transferred to the Ministry of Higher and Basic Education. There's also the renaming of the Yusuf Bala Osman College of Legal Studies to Yusuf Bala Osman College of Education. This renaming might seem to an ordinary person that not an achievement, but it is an achievement because it gave the institution the ability to harness state funding. The last one that I will mention here is the effort made by His Excellency to connect Umaru Musa Yar'Adua University with Jobe Dam so as to ease water scarcity. These are some of the achievements of this administration. Like I said, we have enormous recommendations. But from the enormous recommendations, I want to bring out, highlight, I wish the slide will work. Okay. I will want to bring out 15, go up. Yeah, come here, it's all right. These are some of the recommendations that I feel are need urgent attention from the enormous recommendations that we have. The first one is that there should be, the government should place emphasis of adult and non-formal education to cater for those that cannot or will not go to formal schools. How do we do that? By the revival of the State Agency for Mass Education. As the National President of the Nigerian National Council for Adult Education, I have seen the benefit of the investments governments are doing in the adult and non-formal education sector. Secondly, there is need for the recruitment of teachers for specific subject areas. I want to mention the subject areas: English literature, accounting, electronics, basic science, basic technology, health education, and computer application. Maharba community in Matazu local government, that is where we have one of the best nomadic education schools in the 90s. And the relevance of that institution has been felt in those days. So I'm calling on the government to revive nomadic education. Another one is provide educational support for displaced and out-of-skill children. For this, I would say provide additional support, because I'm sure the government is doing so much on that. Supporting them. Those others, the government can find a way of dealing with them so that they don't tarnish the image of our state. Another one is the improvement in the monitoring and supervision of schools for quality assurance. Definitely, the governor has done so much in infrastructure. We need to see so much work done on monitoring and supervision of schools. The teachers have been given the training. They have the working equipment, but nobody is there to supervise what they are doing. So I'm calling on the government to emphasize more on the monitoring and supervision of schools. We also want you to, sir, Your Excellency, to improve teachers' salary and give them special allowances. The teacher cannot teach on an empty stomach. They can't teach on an empty stomach. So let's give them a specialized salary and specialized allowances. Okay, the next one is that I want you to start the process of teacher recruitment for the 3 model schools. I'm saying this today because I don't know when the schools will be launched, but I don't want to have a fire brigade during the recruitment process. Let's begin the process from now, because it is a special school. Therefore, we'll also need special teachers that will do deliver on the mandate of establishing the schools. We also want you, Your Excellency, to improve the funding of tertiary institutions to cater for staff development, research, and welfare. My colleagues in the higher institutions of Katsina State need to go for further studies, need to attend conferences, need to conduct researches, and they cannot do that on an empty stomach. So, Prof, Your Excellency, we need to see this improvement. The next one is we want you to end water scarcity in the tertiary institutions of the state. Your Excellency, you will bear me witness that there will be no sanitation without water. Water is essential. So let's end the water scarcity that we have in the tertiary institutions of the state. We also want you, Your Excellency, to provide additional hostel and staff accommodation in tertiary institutions. This will keep the lecturers and the students so that they don't roam about. The next one is we want you to put the Lime Minister campus of Umar Musa Eradua into utilization. The process of putting it into utilization is already in our report. So you can refer to the report and see what we have recommended and how we are going to put the place into utilization. The next one is we want you to revive the Bala Abdullahi College of Administration, Funtua. It has been a very good school. The keynote speaker has talked about the relevance of civil servants. This is where civil servants are trained. We want Your Excellency to revive this college and put it into proper utilization. The last one, we want you to work towards increasing enrollment in Isa Keta College of Education and Yusuf Bala Usman College of Education, Daura. A lot of investments has been done in those institutions, but the number of students they have nowadays are very minimal, and it doesn't give some value for money. So we should find a way of increasing the enrollment, whether scholarship or whatever means the government can afford. Let's go up. Go up. Yes. Go up. Yes. We have some parts of the report we are giving for guidance. The recommendations we have given. These are the terms of references that we worked on. You can just go ahead. They are about 12 in number. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is our recommendation on the implementation guidelines for improving the basic education. These are some of the recommendations we have given. Some of them have been implemented and some are in the pipeline. Go up. The next one is implementation strategies for improving Umaru Musa Adwa University. On this one, we have even timelines on when it should be done. Some of them have been done, some are in the pipeline. Go up. Go up. Go up. Go up. The next one is the implementation strategy for the improvement of Isa Keta College of Education. Go up. The next one is the implementation strategy for Yusuf Bala Usman College of Education. Go up. The next one is the implementation strategy for Bala Abdullahi College of Administration Funtua. Go up. Go up. The next one is the implementation framework for the repositioning of adult and non-formal education sector in Katsina State. The recommendations, the timelines, and who will do the actions is there. Go up, and even the performance indicators are there. Go up. The next one is the implementation framework for suitable model for establishing a community learning center. We felt there is need for community learning centers in Katsina State. In the document, we have outlined the benefits of having the community learning centers and how they can be formed. We are taking a model from a community learning center in Malumfashi. Go up. Go up. Smile Kukagazi. Go up. The next one is the implementation strategy framework for incorporating academic and vocational training to Al-Majri and Islamia schools. We are suggesting that we should introduce vocational training for the Al-Majri schools so that if they don't roam about or they don't beg and they don't cause a menace in our state. The next one is the implementation framework for improving the performance of the existing skill acquisition centers. Go up. I think the last one is the implementation strategies for involvement of private sectors involvement in education, because we believe the government cannot do it alone. We need to consult some private individuals to help us do the work better. Finally, the keynote speaker was asking wani irin tuwo gwamna yake ci. Idan za ka wuce ji kamshi ka biya zan faɗi maka irin tuwon da gwamna yake ci. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Associate Prof. Babangida Laden. In my earlier introduction, I've skipped the Jikamshi, but is from Jikamshi. Thank you very much. Next submission from the Health Committee, and the presenter is no other person than Nurse Nuruddin Umar. I think he's a psychiatric nurse by profession. I want to draw his attention that we're not your patients here. So please do manage the time and then deliver where you are expected to do so. Nurse Nuruddin Umar.
Thank you so much, Alhaji Ibrahim. Your Excellency, sir, Malam Dikko Umar Radda, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, other members of the high table. It's a great opportunity for me to represent the health sector on the review of Katsina State Health Sector Blueprint. Next slide, please. Your Excellency, sir. To understand the of health delivery state, what actually gave birth to this. The reasons why I brought this is for us to appreciate the status at which His Excellency took over the health status of Katsina State. The report actually present the finding of a need assessment of health sector, which include all the general hospitals in Katsina State, specialist hospital, specialty hospitals, primary healthcare centers, and as well, health tertiary institutions. Next slide, please. So all those hospitals were actually covered, with the exception of few hospitals that were actually situated in security compromised areas. Next slide, please. So the areas where we dwell were human resource for health in the 3 specialist hospitals in Katsina State. By seeing this red was actually portraying the status at which His Excellency took over health sector in Katsina State across these areas, meaning that the status of availability of human resources was just 40%. Next, please. Next, please. And then human resource for 4 pilot hospitals: General Hospital Katsina, Daura, Dusama, Malamfashi, Funtua, were actually 26%, and 74% was actually nothing in there. Yes, please. And as well, sir, the 7 other general hospitals then, the status was actually alarming. And I could remember by the time we came to this stage, initially there wasn't an approval for media to come in. I could be vividly clear and recall that His Excellency gave the mandate to all media members to come into the conference hall for them to assess the reality. CHIU, 38%. I think the highest was EHO, environmental health officers, where they carry 50%. And of which, sincerely speaking, they are not supposed to be even in the primary health care centers. They're supposed to be in the public arena where they can provide the services needed from them. Please, we can go to the next stage. And the list on the previous stage, nutrition was 15%. 15%. And it was a list. So with this, in terms of equipment on obstetric and gynecology department for the whole pilot hospitals, that was the situation. Wherever you see red, I don't need to explain the reasons why we put red there. But the green there is representing a kind of what? Positive impact then. So this was how His Excellency took over the pilot hospitals in terms of what? Equipment at ONG and other sectors. Next, please. This is also the status of equipment in ONG department for 3 specialist hospitals in Katsina State. It was really alarming. Next, please. And then, accident and emergency unit. Very important unit. Whoever is approaching the hospital, this will be the first contact. And in 2023 June assessment, that was the status. that was 32%. That was a green area. Then 68% was actually the worst. So now, coming to the commitment of Malam Dikko Umarada. This is very clear. I don't need to explain more. Whoever is actually not even visiting hospitals, even going around to see what is happening, justification can make it very much clear. When we look at the project description here, construction of a dry store at the state primary healthcare agency actually signify preparation, planning, and telling you that something is about to happen. Because you cannot build a store where you keep things without making a plan that future things are coming. So that's what gave us confidence that actually there is going to be a revolution in the healthcare industry in Katsina State. And was actually completed. Then revitalization of healthcare facilities under the basic healthcare provision funds. You can see the number. They are not all here, but these are the few numbers captured. The basic healthcare provision fund revitalization is 100% completed. And we are going to justify it in the next slide. Then Ermolo and the others fully revitalize one per local government. So 26 out of 34 local governments that are going to benefit from these revitalizations are also 100% completed in 2 years. Next, please. Then, in addition, upgrade and renovation of other PHCs, where we have 361 wards. And part of the recommendation given during the review was to have a well-equipped, standardized primary healthcare center for each and every local government. And virtually, when we move to the next stage, you will make judgment yourself, because it's about 70% completion currently. Next, please. You can see. Clearly defined. If you really want to see, you can see it. And you can go and visit the areas and see clearly. So that's why I don't want to talk much, but just to give you the image. If you want to see, you can follow and we have our what? We have our sealed copies. If you want to see, then you will give this into a guide. So we can go to the next, please, doctor. This is another one. Next, doctor. This is another one. Next, doctor. Then, Kachma. In the last 3 years, I made a presentation with Vision FM. There is no single country that provides free care services, but what? Social services. One of that social services is having what? Is having an initiative like this, a kind of contributory scheme. With that contributory scheme, we can clearly see that the expansion of healthcare coverage is actually very much demonstrating a remarkable kind of growth and commitment to universal healthcare coverage. And by enrolling thousands of residents, including civil servants, vulnerable populations, and the informal sector workers, ensuring an equitable access to healthcare services across the state, obviously is helping matters. And is vivid and clear, because each and every civil servant in Katsina State is captured under this scheme. Now this year, they have captured 8,000 plus retirees to get a free medical care throughout their lifetime. Special healthcare programs for retirees. That's what I'm talking about. Initially, retirees were afraid, because I was discussing with the executive officer. He was saying that very few were going to register for the services. It was later discovered that they were afraid to be deducted from their pension. Then it was clearly explained to them that they will continue to enjoy these services free of charge throughout their lifetime. And they have captured 8,000 plus now. And bear me witness, the Association of Retired Civil Servants of Katsina State are very much aware about this. That's the testimony. Thank you. Then, improved healthcare facilities and services. No doubt, Kachima activities is actually improving the healthcare facilities in Katsina. And this is exactly what gave birth to the award, the national award they received last year. And it's actually a positive kind of recommendation to Your Excellency, sir. Another good story, just this night, I received a phone call that Katsina State is also nominated as one of the that are going to be awarded in this year, 2025. And I'm hoping that in the next few months, I hope I will be among those people that will be in Lagos to collect that award, inshallah. Doctor? You can see the award that was actually received last year, and we are hoping to collect another one this year, especially because of this retirees program. Yes. Hospital Service Management Board. No doubt, whoever sees this dialysis center will actually smile. And virtually, shine ake cewa jaya hado jaya dauka. Allah ya ji kallet Umar Musa Yar'adua. He started this game and dan shi ya karasa. Allah ya saka. Hospital upgrades, Faskari Comprehensive Healthcare Center, and others. Obviously, is something worthy of commendation. Personnel recruitment. In these 2 years, Governor Radda actually improved the lifestyle of people in this healthcare industry, where he recruited over 640 health workers, clearly defined. And that's what led to the opening of those new general hospitals that will ease referral in our areas. Then medical supplies. He has done something very wonderful. And up to this moment, we have heard from no any states that have actually secured medical equipment worth 10 billion through partnership. And God so kind is actually waiting for an installment very soon. It enhances the healthcare infrastructure. Can you see this? Can you see this? I believe we guess. Where is this hospital situated? It is situated as a special hospital orthopedic unit. You can go ahead, please. You can see. Yes? You see? That is the scenery. Tertiary institutions. These were the challenges of tertiary institutions then, in 2023. Umar Musa Yar'adua was actually battling with staff. We are talking about the medical school in Umar Musa Yar'adua, water and electricity, and shortage of what? Funds. College of Nursing Sciences, Katsina, was also battling about what? Staffing, staff development scheme, better funding, permanent side, and what have you. College of Nursing Sciences, Malamfashi, was also struggling with what? Staffing, staff development scheme, better funding, attention to uncompleted project. College of Health Sciences, please. The previous slide, please. Previous slide, please. College of Health Sciences, also staffing, staff development scheme, better funding, similar renovation carried out in the sister what? Institutions. Concerned the College of Nursing yadda kasan kaman ka aje mata biyu. Wannan na kawo nashi, wannan na kawo nashi. Kohescat also talking about what? Staffing and what? Staff development scheme. Please. This is, please, the previous slide, please. The previous slide. This is College of Nursing, Katsina. Immediately after the completion of this project, all the nursing students will be two in each room by God's grace. So meaning that the issue of what? Hostel accommodation is actually gone. Next, please. Next, please. This is another one in School of Nursing, Katsina. The other one in Malamfashi. Please, Doctor. So conclusion. No doubt the Katsina State government is fully planned and prepared and actively working toward improving healthcare access and quality for its residents, with focus on achieving universal healthcare coverage. These commitments include partnership with organizations like EHA clinics and and collaborations with different national and international non-governmental firms. We truly observed and convinced that the government is investing in infrastructure, digitalization, and specialized services, community engagement, among others, for the betterment of the people of Katsina State. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Nuruddin Umar. I want to announce that His Excellency the Governor is interested in these submissions, but then for want of time, we expected to present the achievements and the way forward, limited within the scope, so that we can take us all the presentation as directed, please. So subsequent speakers go straight to tell His Excellency the achievements and the way forward. That's the directives from him. So we hope that the upcoming speakers will strictly adhere to this instruction, so that His Excellency will be on the same page as far as the committee's submissions. Next, IGR Committee, Engineer Kabir Al-Hussein Ruma is the founder of Jakarta Ruma Foundation. So I think it's even in order. You skip the protocol and then just go straight for us to save time.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His Excellency, sir, permit me to recognize the existing protocol by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu to all the members of this high gathering. I'm here, my name is Engineer Kabir El-Hussein Ruma, Jakarta Ruma, presenting on behalf of IGR Committee. And like I said, the chairman of the committee is Professor Sani Mashi. And a little background of the committee is the fact that about 21 members of the committee participated in making this presentation. What I wanted to say that will summarize or that will capture the essence of all my presentation is that I'm happy to announce to the members of this gathering that history is repeating itself in Katsina State, the home of hospitality, courtesy of the IGR drives of His Excellency Malam Dikko Umar Radda. Some of us may wish to remember that once upon a time in 1973, Yakubu Gowon once upon a time said, the problem of Nigeria then is not money, but how to generate the money. But the problem now is not how to spend the money, but rather how to generate the money. But courtesy of the initiative of His Excellency, as can be seen in these figures, all these figures are captured, are published by His Excellency himself in the www.katsinastategovernment.org. You can see that the comparison, as can be seen, is from 22 to 2025. In 2022, Katsina State government budget about 308 billion. 13 billion was generated. The budget was 13.9 billion IGR, but only 8.2 was raised. Then we had a gap of about 4.9 with a performance of 2.5% low compared to the what is budgeted and the actual budget. For year 2023, 300 billion, 33 was the budgeted IGR, 19.7 raised, 13.6 billion, 59.6 high performance compared to the budgeted amount. As of 2024, 526.5 billion was budgeted, 4.2 billion was the IGR budgeted, already 32.3 billion was raised, 11.9 was actually the deficit, representing IGR performance of 73.2% high. For year 2025, it can be seen 68.2% was actually budgeted for this year. As at the time I'm talking, His Excellency, sir, is yet to publish for the first and the second quarter. We are already in the second quarter for fiscal year 2025. That's why, next slide. And the performance review is from the perspective of Katsina State Government. While this is another external appreciation of the IGR drive of Katsina State from Budget, which is the most important private institution in Nigeria in terms of fiscal performance. You can see in year 2022, Katsina State Government was ranked 17th in terms of IGR generation in Nigeria, which means that for the year 2022, the then governor was able to raise about 2,447 per each citizen of Katsina State. His Excellency in year 2023, Katsina State was ranked 30th from 17th in 2021. While in 2024, Katsina State Government was ranked 31st from 30th in 2022, which means that His Excellency have generated for each indigent of Katsina State about 2,157. Can we appreciate His Excellency? Next slide. These are the further areas. In the previous slide, we are able to highlight what we as a committee recommended to His Excellency, and we equally also highlighted what His Excellency was able to achieve. Vis-a-vis the performance, these are the other areas expected for IGR improvement in Katsina State. Voluntary tax compliance through value for money governance. As I'm coming to Katsina State from Kaduna this evening, when I see the flyover at Lambarimi, I was highly impressed. And in my mind, I said, this is the value for money we are talking about. As a taxpayer, when you see things by yourself like this, you'll be impressed, you'll be encouraged to be what? Tax compliant. Treasury single account implementation, HAUPA. I always, whenever I heard of this DSA in Katsina State, what I normally ask is always, as one of the beneficiaries of a housing scheme in Katsina State, I normally call the housing authority and ask them, if I want to pay my money for the house I have, how do I pay it? Once they told me that you raise a bank draft in favor of the authority, I said TSA is here to come in Katsina State. But I assure His Excellency, sir, when you're talking about issue of IGR draft, it is two-way. One of them is what? To prevent the leakages, and the other one is to increase more. So TSA is strategic to whatever initiative Katsina State Government will do. OGP, however, Open Governance Partnership. These are some of the partnerships that it may interest some of us to know that in the whole of Nigeria so far, it is only Kaduna State Government that is a member of OGP. Katsina State Government have already constituted a committee to ensure that Katsina State is a member of OGP. Once they say Katsina State Government is a member of OGP, you know that Katsina State, there is a minimum fiscal benchmark that Katsina State have satisfied. Islamic finance. It may interest you to know that in last year, what I want to tell His Excellency is that it is high time Katsina State Government learn to get rid of interest from the economy of Katsina State. Then we have an excuse for interest banking, interest finance, interest loan. But now we have 6 Islamic banks, 6 capital market, a lot of other activities for Islamic banking. Then Katsina State Government, is high time for Katsina State Government to leverage on them like Skook. Katsina State Government was the first state in Nigeria to issue Skook on private placement. I want His Excellency, from the expiration of your 8 years time in Katsina State, to see the possibility of leveraging on this Skook to finance anything apart from the normal conventional bonding. Rationalization of MDS, there is no saying of that. Katsina State Government can release huge amount of revenue if the MDS of Katsina State will be rationalized, meaning that there's a lot of duplication of duties in some of them. If they consider a committee to look at them, rationalize them, remove the duplication, huge amount of money may be released. Formalization of markets and local markets, who's been to bring these marketers to within the tax brackets so that they can be able to be paying tax. Annual tax dialogue will be to encourage taxpayers. It may interest His Excellency to know that 2 years ago, during the Europa in Kaduna State Government, Kaduna State Inland Revenue every day do what they call annual tax dialogue, where the taxpayers and the government sit down together and brainstorm with regard to IGR. It may interest us to know that one of the greatest persons that is the highest taxpayer in Kaduna State Government is from Katsina State. He had a handshake with His Excellency, recognized and awarded with an award. Next slide. Next slide. Concluding remark. His Excellency, that you can see that as at year 2024, based on the record available, His Excellency was able to generate 44.2 billion naira as RGI for Katsina State. But looking at what IMF, the Katsina State government had a tax potential of about 17% of GDP of Katsina State. According to World Bank, as at 2021, the GDP of Katsina State is 3.32 trillion. 17% of that amount, meaning that Katsina State government had a revenue potential of about 500 billion, which through this tax compliance and other things, Excellencies, is achievable and not realistic without necessarily violating the LAPA cap, because revenue are not generated indefinitely. Next slide. I congratulate His Excellency for your IGI drive in Katsina State from 2021 up to, from when you come on board up to here, which is commendable, which is highly appreciative. And I tell His Excellency on behalf of my committee member that you can do more in that regard. And on behalf of the committee, I'm happy to announce that His Excellency have recognized the committee. Out of our 21 members of the committee, already 7 have been recognized for their performance in the committee with various appointments, ranging from the board chairman of the, which is the membership of the committee, Dr. Ghani, Dr. Seifullahi, and many others. And to which on behalf of the committee, I say Jazakallahu bi khairi jazaihi. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Engineer Kabir Al Hussein Ruma, founder Jakarta Ruma Foundation. Still on the directives, please, achievements, way forward, gaps. His Excellency is interested in knowing that for the way forward. Next, quickly, Land Reform Committee, Dr. Umar Yusuf Bazari. Department of Math and Statistics, Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. So I'm here just to present a scorecard on the achievements so far in land physical planning, land administration policies. So here are the achievements so far. Please, next slide. Maybe I would like to present the graphs or the charts. Please, next, go to the charts, please. The charts. So wait, please. So like here, being the chairman of our committee, Dr. Faisal Keita, was given the mandate to head the department. So actually, we don't have problem in that committee, and alhamdulillah. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the able leadership of His Excellency for making it real, because that is how to do it. Because we make the recommendations and he is actually implementing them to the last. Yes, there's no problem on that. So here is part of the our recommendation for the establishment of KAJIS, which the House of Assembly called for public hearing. As you can see the date, and alhamdulillah, it was implemented. Next, please. So here is another picture of our recommendation for staff training, and His Excellency is supervising some automated equipments in the land sector. So this communique actually tells a lot, because it summarizes almost, I think, 8 or 9 of our recommendations with this single communique, because it's addressed. Next, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. So it's addressed all these issues. You can see them. I think, 5 on the land administration, then on physical planning 5, and another one which is very important. That is the registration of our local vendors, which is very important in the land issues, because these land vendors without registration, they actually cause a lot of problems in land issues in the state. So alhamdulillah, this communique addressed that issue right on the head. So this is the assessment on the recommendation that we had. So unfortunately, I think if you can look on the item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth item, that is the staff recruitment. I was not able to have the data before today, but I just met the Honorable Commissioner on his way coming in. He told me that yes, this also was implemented in the ministry. So that is the only sector I think I was blank in this case, but as you can go across, you can see that almost all the sectors were what? 50% completion in terms of implementation of our recommendation. Some were even 100%. Like the CAGIS is 100%. Revocations of land, that communique stamp that all illegal lands were immediately revoked from all the state, across the state. Then harmonization of these agencies. What we mean here is that previously there are a lot of agencies that are awarded lands, like maybe the local government chieftaincy, the local government, the state land, URB, and there are many agencies then before His Excellency administration. But with this communique, that has come to an end. So then also the gray areas, or maybe the places that I think need more attention now. Back, please. Sorry, please, back. So the area that needs more attention, like the first one is the master plan issue. And also on this master plan, I was briefed by the Honorable Commissioner that, yeah, there was a lot of progress. But based on the available data that I got, it was almost 50% implementation. So, but I am assured that this will also be improved in the near possible future. And then the issue of mapping the lands, especially these grazing routes that cause these farmers and herders clashes, which resulted in this issue of banditry and this rest of chaos situation in the state. But alhamdulillah, in general, overall assessment of this reform recommendation that we gave to His Excellency, I think, next slide please, the implementation level currently in 2 years' time is at 71%. So it was assessed to be 21%, which we know that the remaining 29% possibly can be done within the next 1 year or so. And next slide, please. So in conclusion, next slide. So His Excellency performed excellently beyond our expectation, actually.